Hey, welcome back to the annual NHL Mock Draft Hockey Nation for the fifth year. We do this special show a couple of days before the NHL draft. And of course, this show is going to be in LA and California this year. And tonight we have the annual mock draft with four guests join me live tonight. Of course, we're going to miss Mr. Enartap. But we're going to think about him again, and hopefully he's going to be back with us very soon. But tonight, like I said, Marco said it's a full house tonight. Are you ready for the NHL draft, mock draft? All you people in the chat, you are the one that are going to judge or pick tonight to tell us, I agree or disagree, what it would be you pick on number 1 all the way to 32. And I think we'll be very covered, a little bit more to learn about Sven Plus, probably the people we have in the chat tonight and the guests that we have tonight. So I can wait to see the result of the 32 of the pick tonight. Of course, the subject is a mock draft 2025 live. And I can wait to be happen Friday night. I just want a quick remind. Tomorrow night we do the preview of the NHL draft and more a template like a Frenchy quiz Friday night for the Thursday night, because Friday we do the NHL draft live at 7 o'clock until the end of the first round. And day number 2, we're going to be there for the first round number 2, 3, and 4, and then we'll disappear. But I'm going to promote. I'm going to be back live every time on Canadiens I have a selection. So watch the NHL draft. I think we bring a lot of content, a lot of information about the prospect of this year. We know this is not the best year for the NHL draft. A bit weak, but still have a lot of players inside of that is going to have a good career in NHL. And I can't wait to see the selection of all the NHL team Friday night for the first round. 9 team is not going to have any pick at the first round. And a couple of teams like Calgary, San Jose, Pittsburgh, Montreal Canadiens, Flyers have a minimum of 2 picks and more. So it would be really interesting. I think it will be a wild NHL draft, I believe, this Friday. I expect trade. Some going to move up, some going to move down, some going to trade for 2026 because everybody wants to get McKenna. That's another subject for another time. But we're going to welcome guys. They are in the green room and ready to rock and roll tonight. And they are from all around Canada, from the west side to all the way to the east side in the Maritime. They are in the house tonight. Welcome back, all of you. We have Devin over me, Marco in the middle, Randy is at the top right corner, and then Frank is in the house back with me, with us tonight on the left corner, or the right corner. And that's what we got, guys, tonight. And for the people who don't know exactly, but Frank select number 1, Marco number 2, Randy number 3, and then Devin number 4 is an alternate mock draft. So everybody go 1 pick at a time. Some comments for all of them at some points on the NHL draft, mock draft. Most of you, I believe, did a mock draft. I believe Randy did many times, by the way. Frank, I think you did it already, right?
Yeah, I did post one on Twitter a couple of days ago. Let's see how many I got right.
There we go. And Marco, I think you did not do it yet, right?
This is the first one, guys. By the way, I love this decentralized format. Maybe next year we'll do like the NHL and we'll have a more, we can all meet in person at Devin's house in his tiki bar and do the draft there. That would be fun.
There we go. And then maybe we can go directly from number 6 within our top next year. So be a little bit not in the middle of the pick or the middle of the graphic, Marco.
Yeah, and I want to mention that, guys, like, I don't choose to be in the middle. Coach does this to me on purpose. He puts me always in the middle. Embarrass me. It's not me requesting to be in the middle. I just want to be clear.
And they went directly for the medicine. It looked like it's hot over there.
Hot today, yes. We're getting all the hot weather that Marco got yesterday and the day before. It's arrived here, high 30s today in Halifax. So it's a hot one. I got my tank top on.
In the middle of the USA, it is really hot, like 120 in North Carolina, 101 in Washington at some point. So I think it's get hot everywhere on the east side of the North America right now. So, but before we start, we're going to welcome everybody very quickly. Then we'll go to John and see what the people are going to think about our pick. if we are right or wrong. We'll see. We're always right anyway. But we'll see. Frankie is in the house. Frankie did a mock draft, by the way. Frankie is in the house tonight. Welcome back, Frankie. Billy is back also. Shelton from Winnipeg is in the house. Welcome back. And then we have Jazz is with us tonight. Ovidio is with us. Arjik Labro back with all the information. Julien back in the house tonight. Julien, hopefully you're doing well. And a friend of Randy, Mr. Booze, New York NY Booze is in the house. Welcome back. Thanks to be with us tonight. Peter August also is with us. Roy from Thailand and Bangkok. He rained over there, I believe. Maybe not this time, but there's a rain season in Thailand. Darren is with us tonight. Welcome. I think it's the first time with us. Thanks to be part of the show tonight. Talking with him because Randy invite him. Sandman also with us. PLW. I don't know you got what you got tonight, PLW. Are you going to go with Freeman again or not? And then we have Yamo Vertanen from Finland. Welcome back with Yamo. Hopefully you're doing well. Late a little bit over there. And he said, who is the first Finland to be a part of the first round tonight? I don't know. He's still coaching next season. He coached a triple A program, I believe, last year. I don't know. I did not hear about next season. Finland summer, 7 Celsius. So here we go. And notre ami Guy is in the house tonight. For thanks everybody to be part of the show. Don't forget, please, to click on the like if you don't mind. That'd be great. And that's all, guys. Anything? We'll go to one by one. And the overview of the mock draft, I'm going to start with by the selection. So, Frank, what are your expectation or the overview of the NHL draft Friday night?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been too quiet today, Coach. I remember when you, Marco, and myself were on the cast, and we broke the Alex Carrier trade. So, by the grace of goodness, we might have something to sink our teeth in as well tonight, because it's been awfully quiet today. Save the Evander Kane trade. I think there's going to be some movement before Friday for sure. Maybe something from the Habs. We know they have 2 first-round picks. We know they're looking for immediate help. There's a couple of teams who are looking for immediate help. So there's a very, very good chance a lot goes on before the draft takes place Friday. So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, lots of movement, like you said, Coach, either before or during as well. Teams have been quiet, I believe, the last draft or the previous 2. But in the past, like, it's been a little bit more crazy during draft day. So I wonder how it plays out, though, with the fact that they're not on the floor. I know that this is something that was mentioned by some of the pundits that, you know, it's great for the league to have it somewhat easier for them. But for the teams and the GMs who are trying to bump into each other and say, like, hey, actually, you know what, let's revisit quickly that conversation we had a couple of weeks ago about this player, because right now I'm feeling it. So that might not happen as easily this year. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
Marco, I'll go with you.
Yeah, well, you're right, Frank. It's kind of like impulse buying, right? Like buying that, like that candy at the cash register when you're going through, like more opportunity to kind of connect. But I don't know, guys. Like you always hope that it's going to be super active. I think this year, it's what makes it so unique is that with the parity in the NHL, there's really only maybe 2, probably more just one team that's really selling off assets. Everybody's kind of looking to improve, which makes it a very interesting dynamic, right? But at the same time, we say how difficult it is to trade into the top 10, but there's certainly a lot of teams that for the right pieces, certainly are willing to do that. From a Montreal perspective, solely, like it's a little bit of unfortunate timing, right? Because Montreal has all these assets and they're ready, they're open for business. But like I said, it's just a strange market with a lot of teams seeking out the same exact type of assets that they are, and some of them are even better positioned than they are, right? So I think it's going to be. It's going to be fun to watch. Like I think there will be some movement, just because the draft is all over the place, and we know that teams' lists are very different from public lists. So if a team feels that they can get the player that they want, there might be some movement there, right? But so either way, this is one of the most, other than, I love the beginning of the season, right? Because it's always fresh of hope and everything else. But this, in terms of being no hockey, this is awesome, right? Like, this is a really exciting time. Should be a really fun week, and I'm really excited to join you guys and get to it. Should be fun.
Awesome. Randy, quickly.
Everything's been covered that I was going to say, so let's move on.
Here we go. Devin from Maritime. What you maybe something, Devin, where you maybe a bold prediction. Here we go. Bold prediction, Devin, for Friday night.
A bold prediction for Friday night. I'll say that there's going to be a trade involving a top 10 pick. I don't know how bold that is, but
That's pretty
it's bold in the sense it's bold. I think, in the sense that it hasn't happened in a long time, and it's not that bold in the sense that I think it's being talked about. It's not like I've come up with that all by myself. There are teams out there that are willing to move their pick, and I think there are teams that are looking to move into that top 10. And I think that's I think one of the things that will happen because of the decentralized draft is that you're not going to see the trades or any moves that are made aren't going to be as chaotic as they might be if everybody was in the same place. I think they'll be more sort of planned out, I guess, if I could call it that way, because people are going to be talking on the phone as opposed to, like Frank said, running into each other on the floor of the draft and sort of, oh, did you remember this guy? Like, it's not going to be as chaotic as that, I don't think. But I do think we'll see. I think we'll see at least one significant trade at the top of the draft between now and Friday evening.
Awesome.
And just Coach, before we jump away from the decentralized draft, I just want to let everybody know today. I think it came out that the Board of Governors meeting that they're going to do a vote, and they're going to basically vote to see if they keep the decentralized draft. I think the feeling is that people immediately regretted moving, especially once, because I think the decision was already made to decentralize it, and then they had it in Vegas last year, and everybody was just blown away about how amazing it was. So I think they immediately regretted moving away from that. So I think we all hope that they move away from it, but I guess we'll know soon after this this vote.
Can I ask a quick question maybe to everybody here on the live and also in the comment section? It's my understanding that the league has asked the teams to be creative with the people that they use or the way in which they announce their trades. And I know, for instance, the Mighty Ducks have brought in two of the actors who played in the Mighty Ducks movies to do it. Maybe people in the comments can maybe let us know who they think would be a good idea for Montreal, who would be somebody in that similar vein or that similar style to announce the Canadiens' first picks at 16 and 17. I know they did Celine Dion last year, and that was kind of cool. But maybe something a little more sort of off the wall or creative this year. I don't know. I wonder. Yeah. I've been trying to think who would be a good one, and I'm sure that the comment section will definitely have some pretty neat ideas.
I can get the
comment section. Want to read that comment section.
Yeah, let's get the comment section fired up. I have a perfect choice. It would be a unanimous choice, like a really popular Quebecer that all Canadians love, Justin Trudeau. Yes, that'd be perfect, right? Like unanimous Montrealer. I don't think anybody
Marco, do you have life insurance?
Yeah.
Someone's about
you may need some if you're going to come to come in Western Canada and say
I pretty much anywhere, I think, but yeah.
Here we go. We have a few people knock the door. Welcome, everybody. Thanks to be a part of the show, everybody. Don't forget, please click on that to help for guys to welcome everyone about it. The only thing I don't know, but I thought every team are going to invite all the fans inside the rink. It's not going to happening.
In Calgary, I'll answer that, Coach. In Calgary, it's limited to season ticket holders.
I thought it's going to be like a really marketing promotion on each arena where the staff is in the middle of the ring, and then have people around, and they have some kind of entertaining. I'm just, if you don't do that, well, I don't know the purpose of do that. Like,
it's always dangerous. It's always dangerous to do stuff like that because you you run the risk of picking a player that the fans aren't enamored with, and then all of a sudden you've got 10,000 people booing an 18-year-old kid who you hope is going to become a part of your. I mean, I know it's not a. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying that it's sometimes it can be a little bit risky, especially in a market like Montreal.
I have a really good idea for another person Montreal could bring for their draft selection. Remember the lady from the Kakanyemi draft? She would be a fun person to bring back for the draft, I think, right?
I was thinking Googly.
All right, let's move on, guys, for the first pick of the night. Like we do here, this is a graphic, guys. So everybody going to get the board at some point. Those people going to talk behind this is going to be the voice of all the guests of tonight. So I'm going to try to do my best to give you a little bit more information graphically. I don't do any pick because I'm the producer of this video, of this live stream tonight, honestly. And the how this works is Frank will be at the first. On the first overall pick of the NHL mock draft 2025. So you are on the you are in, Mr. Frank.
Thanks, Coach.
Here we go.
So I have to say, if you're Mathieu Darche, you are gifted with the keys to the castle like no one else has been gifted, right? You have the first overall selection on your first draft as a GM. That's a fantastic opportunity to start fresh, start anew. And I think it's a bit of a no-brainer there. I think they're going to go with Matthew Schaefer.
Matthew Schaefer. Tell us a bit more if you can give us a bit more information about Matthew Schaefer if you can.
For sure. Yeah. So Matthew Schaefer is a left-handed left defenseman, 6'2", I believe, around 182 pounds, something like that. Oh, there you go. You have the stats. So I think it's been updated a bit since the combine, coach here. I think he's at 6'2" and closer to 180 in that range. So there's still, even at 180, I think there's still room for his body to fill out. He's still a bit lanky, but we've seen that this is a very, very mobile, agile defenseman, a huge play driver, playmaking skills through the roof. He's got a decent shot, and he's just controlling the play out there. This is a guy who can be your minute muncher that plays 25 minutes a game and can be on your power play unit number one very shortly. Because he's been injured most of the season, I think there's a very good chance he doesn't start the year next year in the NHL, just to get accustomed and sort of rehab back into meaningful hockey for the next year or so, and probably in the junior again. But then once that's done, you get an impact player right off the bat. So yeah, I think it's a no-brainer there. There's some strong case to be made about Michael Misa, but if you look at the Islanders cupboard right now, it's pretty bare. The only position they might have, they have a couple forwards who are interesting in Cole Yzerman and Cal Ritchie in the pipeline, but in the back end, there's really not much going on. So they could have picked any position, and a number one potential defenseman is not something you can get every day. It's a premium position. It's really rare to obtain. So I think it's a pretty short discussion before they go and pick Schaefer.
Well said, well done about the New York Islanders. They're really where they are, honestly. I don't think so. Marco, and Randy and Devin are going to be disagree with that pick. So let's move on for pick number 2. And the pick number 2, guys, is going to be with Marco Larrabee with the
San Jose Sharks. So guys, we know that San Jose, has a lot of talent up front. So they probably would have, even with Dickinson on their back end, they probably would have loved to be in the position to pick a player like Matt Schaefer. But at this point, I think they go best player available. And to me, if I was speaking on their behalf, I'd say the San Jose Sharks are proud to select with the second overall pick, Michael Misa. Really, really gifted left-handed center / winger. I guess that's really the only question. Some people, still question whether he's going to really be a center in the NHL. I think he does definitely have the IQ, certainly the foot speed, all the assets to be a center in the NHL. The best way to describe, I think, Mike Misa is he went on a massive, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he had the best point total in the OHL since, I'm trying to remember. Does anybody else remember? But it was like a crazy player. So his point total was historic in terms of what he was able to put up in the O last year, right? So very impressive guy. I know, Coach, you had your eye on him since the beginning of last year. I remember we had many debates that Montreal should not finish above top 5 so they could put themselves in a position to get a player like Mike Misa. But man, like San Jose really getting stacked with what they have up front with players like Smith and Celebrini, and so really exciting future for San Jose. Michael Misa, really probably the only thing with his game, like if he's going to play center, just be a little bit more responsible on both sides of the puck. But I think he has all the makings of a top line center in the NHL. A comparable I've seen is like a Tyler Seguin, but left-handed, kind of thing. So that kind of speaks to, Tyler Seguin's kind of moved from center and wing his entire career. So we'll see, but very exciting player. Sexy numbers 77 for San Jose.
Here we go. We'll see what happening. 60 goal and 134 points and the season. So this is like, and the OHL, that's pretty good if you think about that. And now, this is where at pick number 3 is going to get 2 direction. And that will be what we get tonight. Randy is going to be at the pick number 3 tonight. And that's what I'm really interested in which one is going to select tonight, because honestly, it changed a little bit the next 5 pick after that. So we'll be interested in what Randy is going to do. Is the Chicago Blackhawks is going to be is in right now. And Randy, you're going to announce the pick.
Well, I'm not pleased about it. I'm not picking the person I think I want to pick. I'm picking the person that the Chicago Blackhawks are going to pick, and that is the centerman, Anton Frandel.
Frandel, there we go. Tell us a bit more about Frandel, what you...
Yeah, sure. I'll just read them. I'll just read my notes. Frandel is a smooth skater with great vision. He has a high hockey IQ. He has perhaps one of the best shots in the draft. Heavy, laser sharp. He's a physical, fearless in the corners. Top notch with puck control. His deception forces defenders to chase the puck. He gets defenders leading and tricking where he's going to go. If he can get the defenders looking for the puck instead of the body, he can turn them into Swiss cheese. Good size, under that, good size. Not much to complain about. That's about it, Coach.
All right, sound good. Apologize for that one over there. And Mr. Let's go with someone here. Let's go with Devin. I know he's going to be back-to-back talking, but what do you think about that pick, or you feel like this is the right pick?
I think that's a great pick. Frondel's a good finisher. He's got a great shot. He brings a little bit of jam, a good complement to some of the smaller forwards that the Blackhawks currently have. I think he probably, the idea of having Connor Bedard and Anton Frandel together is probably a pretty attractive one. So I think it's a pretty good selection. They've got a lot of the snazzy playmaker types, and Frandel has that in his game. But he certainly, his shot is perhaps his best asset. And I think he'll do very well. I mean, it would be any player's dream, I would think, to get the opportunity to play the majority of your NHL career next to a guy like Connor Bedard. So I think it's a good pick. I think it's a great pick. I like it.
What about Frank or Marco, one or two, if you have Martin there, or both of you said Frandel?
Go ahead, Frank.
Happy to jump in. So, I think the rumor or the noise around the draft is Frandel is the guy. there are some ups and downs with each player, but what I like about Frondel is that he has sort of that two-way ability that can really help insulate some of the smaller players because he uses his size to neutralize opponents. So that's really interesting for the Blackhawks perspective there. So I fully see this pick as making a whole lot of sense. The question really of Frondel is around truly in a similar fashion to Misa. Like he looks like a guy who could be sort of bounced around between the wing and the center position. But then again, you have a guy like Connor Bedard who probably will be bounced around the center and wing position. So maybe this is the duo that you have that, regarding, certain periods of time where certain players are doing better, or if you're feeling like this is a scenario where a certain matchup is better for one or the other, then you switch them up and you still have them develop chemistry over time while switching the position and staying on the same line. So there's a lot to like about Frondel, and I think it makes a whole lot of sense for Chicago.
All good, Marco. No Marton there.
Yeah, I'm aligned with everyone. I only thing I'll say is that's what makes this draft interesting, right? Like we know the premium that goes on centers. There's a lot of question marks about the first couple guys as to whether, even Desnoyers, right? Like some people you'll get the argument that he might end up playing wing. So yeah, like it's such a premium position. So Marton, I think, is a very tantalizing prospect, but at this stage, it's all about the premium picks, right? Like the value of the position, I think, is still really critical at this point, and hard to go wrong with somebody that you're projecting to be a center.
Here we go. At the pick number 4, the Utah Mammoth, whatever they call it, and Devin is going to be on the.
Yeah, so the Utah Mammoth, I think, are in a similar position to Chicago, much like San Jose. I think in a perfect world they would choose a defenseman with this pick, but there really isn't anybody at this stage of the draft as a defenseman that I think makes sense. I do think that if they're not going to take a defender, I think they need to take somebody who can complement, again, similar to Chicago, their group of highly skilled, perhaps less competitive, less compete, the Coolies, the Keller, the Gunther types. So I think they're looking for somebody who can, bring a little bit, again, like I said, some jam, similar to Anton Frondel. So with the 4th overall pick, the Utah Jazz select from the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, 6 foot, 178-pound Brady Martin.
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Coach, you need to go back to our faces. We're all saying, wow. Whoa.
Tell us a bit more, Devin, about the prototype of who he is.
Brady Martin, a bit of a unicorn, not the biggest kid in the draft, but I think widely recognized to be one of the most physical, one of the guys, biggest hitters in the draft. I think there was one scout that was quoted saying, if he was in the NHL right now, he'd be one of the better hitters in the NHL. Obviously, he's got like intangibles coming out of the yin yang. He's, everyone's heard the stories. He's the farm boy. He's a hard worker. He's got good hockey sense. He's not, spectacular at anything, but he's pretty solid at everything. I also really like about him the fact that he is very self-aware. He understands what his role is on a team, and he understands what he needs to do to help his team. For instance, when he was in Sault Ste. Marie, there were some complaints that perhaps he wasn't playing physical enough. And the rationale behind that essentially was that he probably needed to play more of an offensive producer role with Sault Ste. Marie. But when he was playing with the national team, he understood that his role was more of a bottom 6 type guy, and he was able to take on that physical style and to dominate games in that way as well. So I think he's a really, really smart kid. I think he has a high hockey IQ, a ton of character, and brings something that I don't think any other player in this draft brings. And in Utah, I don't think they need any more. As far as forwards goes, they need some, some of those, those jam type guys who can make some space for their playmaker types. Cooley, Gunther, Keller, But then, you add a guy like Brady Martin, and I think he will be an excellent addition to that team in their top six.
Marco, you was the one to have a very expression about that pick, so give us a bit
Yeah.
more you point out.
Yeah, like listen, like I don't disagree with Devin's assessment in terms of Utah's mix, right? And that this would be a good player. I just, at this rank, I just maybe Utah would trade down. I think in potential, like we all know, Brady Martin is kind of like this the major kind of climber in this year's draft, right? Like we always see at least one climber, so he's that guy. We'll call it the Sam Bennett effect, after the amazing performance he had in the playoffs and everything. And to me, if I'm a Utah Mammoth fan, I'm still getting used to saying that. I see shades of like Braden Hayton here, like the offensive upside. I'm not saying it's negligible, but compared to a player like Martone here, like I think you could maybe obtain the same type of effect with Porter Martone, adding that different element to your team, just with a little higher ceiling offensively, in my opinion, right? But listen, like I wouldn't be shocked to see Brady Martin kind of go up in the top 5, but I wasn't expecting it in our mock, that's for sure. But I understand Devin's reasoning completely. But I'd be surprised if they really want him. I think maybe they would trade down. Frank, what do you think, man?
I'm not surprised. I read it everywhere as well. I think Devin's onto something. When you want your guy, you get your guy. Last year was Beckett Seneca for Anaheim. That was, outside of top 10 for most of the year. And at the very last minute, just, beat everyone at the finish line and was taken third overall. If you are looking for a specific type of player, sure, you could trade down, but there's a risk he won't be there. So it's still, high risk, high reward when you go against the grain. But some teams have the cojones to do it, and they don't look back, and they're happy with their selection. So I'm curious to see if the Mammoth is this type of team. In the past, they've been able to do some wild picks with some or somewhat non-backlash because they were in Arizona. Things might change now in Utah, but with their owner who's a little flashy, who wants he wants the team to be competitive, to be exciting. I could see this pick making a whole lot of sense for them. That said, while he's very physical, he's still not that big. I think he's 6 foot. So there's a lot of small guys in that team. Even last year, they got TJ Ginla, who's also a sub 6 foot player. Mm-hmm. So with all the names that you mentioned before, I don't know if they go this route. I think it makes perfect sense if they do. But I could see them also going for someone who's this year big to ride in Utah.
Here we go. We're going to go pick number 5. It's going to be the Nashville Predator, and OANs is back. Frank.
Ooh, that's a tough one. There's so many good ones to choose from. Now, I think what I'll do here with the Nashville Predators pick is I'll go with the premium position, and I'll go for an American kid who was ranked first overall for most of the year, but fell just a little bit. I'm going to go with James Hagens here. So in Hagens, they get a dynamic guy with a great IQ. He's very smart, very poised. You look at the comps, you look at everything that he does, and he's not too dissimilar from a guy like Celebrini, who was, at first sounded like almost like an underwhelming first overall pick compared to the hype of Connor Bedard and other picks from previous years. But then you look at what he's done this year in the league as an 18, 19-year-old. And it's amazing what he's done because he's so smart, because he's so dynamic, and because he plays the right way. I think James Hagens has a very similar profile in that sense, and he has a skill set that could really translate to the NHL level. So the knock on Hagens is the size for an NHL center is not optimal. He's not too small. He's 5'11", somewhere around 175, 180 pounds. So by the time he fills out, he's going to be pretty much the same size as Nick Suzuki, which, hasn't impeded Suzuki to become a very legit, producing and never got injured, centerman in this league. So there's nothing scary about his size. But the knock was also as well that there was maybe a lack of being the play driver that much. He was benefiting a bit this year from playing with highly skilled wingers in Leonard and I forget the Rangers prospect that I'm blanking on right now. But
Bro.
Bro. Yes, Bro. So there was a bit of a knock on that department, but I think Haggins will be a centerman. I think he's, like I said, an American kid in Nashville. I think it will be a very popular pick.
Great pick.
Yep. No argument here. Like I think this would be a really, really good fit for Nashville. They just historically have always been starved for, talented players. I think Barry Trotz does have an inclination to go towards kind of like meat and potatoes kind of players, but so I don't know if Nashville will. I don't know if Nashville will make this pick, but I think they should. But yeah. So I think it'd be a great fit.
All right, so let's go on from the pick of Flyers. If you mind, we're going to go a little bit more quicker. If not, we're going to get that. So pick number Flyers is going to be from Marco Larabi.
All right. So on behalf of the Philadelphia Flyers, Danny Briere runs to the podium. That's a cliche, I know, but definitely with his little legs, he's short already. He runs to the podium and very excitedly picks from the Moncton Wildcats, Caleb Desnoyers. We know that the Flyers are absolutely, like, even after the acquisition of Trevor Zegras, which I guess, is probably a little bit of a Hail Mary, them still looking to find a center. This is what they're looking for, right? To me, out of all the players here, maybe other than Misa, I think Desnoyers projects the most to be kind of like a 200-foot center out of all the ones that we've kind of looked at so far. What's interesting here too, so Caleb Desnoyers, really, really dominant season in the queue this year. I think he has, like I said, those good elements of two-way play, always making things happen when he's on the ice. 30 points in 19 games, claiming like the Guy Lafleur trophy last year, right? So I think a really good pick. What I like about the dynamic here too is you have Sean Couturier already in Philadelphia, just a natural mentor for another French-speaking Quebecer. I think this is, written in the stars. I think it'd be a perfect fit for Flyers. But I think, a lot of Habs fans are going to be sad to see that. But guys, there's no way that a player like this is going to be dropping. And I don't think Montreal has the assets to kind of swoop in and get a player like this. So I think this would be a really, really nice fit for Philly.
Devin, anything about Caleb Desnoyers, or because he played honestly on your...
I think it's a great pick, and like you say, he fits in with Philadelphia. Philadelphia is already, he's the type of guy they could use. Lots of character. He seems like a Flyers kind of kid. At this point in the draft, what are we at, number 6 now? I think if you're getting him at 5 or 6, I think it's a great opportunity. It's interesting. There's still a couple big names on the board, but I think Caleb Desnoyers is the kind of player that any team would really love to have. I think he's sort of a Macklin Celebrini light. Again, a kid who brings a ton of character. He's not going to be a superstar goal scorer, and he's not going to be, but he's a kid who's going to go out every night and play really strong hockey and be technically sound and give you everything he has every night. A real leader type, like a guy who you could see being the captain, someday in Philadelphia. I think it's a great pick.
Awesome.
He's like a reborn Sean Couturier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Boston Bruins is on the clock, and Mr. Randy is going to be the one.
You guys want to make life interesting. Boston is thriving and demands a center, but with Martone there, their mouths are watering, and they're going to have to take a second thought. and I'm sorry, I know you're mostly supposed to go by the position. I'm going by the better player here. And I was described as Martin from a scout that he is the most closest player to NHL ready in the draft. That was his specific words. He's the best power forward in the league, Martin for Boston.
All right.
Ouch.
And I know that
Ouch.
I know that's weird.
No,
And
that's
I
not
know I
weird,
should
Randy.
be picking it.
No, I think just as Habs
That's,
fans, we're all wincing a little bit that Martone would end up in Boston, but I think that's a really good fit for them.
I just I didn't think he'd be there. To tell you the truth, but if he's there, I don't think Boston can pass him up just because of how gifted of a forward he is. He's a terrific
So, guys, what do you
power
think?
forward.
So, why do we think he would slip like this? Is it purely just a positional thing, or there are like really the only kind of thing that I've seen commented about him negatively is his skating, right? And that maybe that
That's the only thing that's wrong with him. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard,
I don't think it's bad by any means, but
I've heard a few rumblings about his compete level being a little bit inconsistent. That some nights he just doesn't. I mean, when he's on his game and when he's playing his game, he's dominant. But there were a few nights this season where he just didn't show up, which may or may not be a concern. They're teenagers and that happens from time to time. But yeah, I think the position would be the main reason why he would slide. And not just the position, but I think also the specific qualities that some of the other people provide that he doesn't, right? That, we talked about, the jam, and we talked about the leadership and the character stuff with Desnoyers and with Brady Martin. So I think if you're getting Porter Martone at number 8 or 7, I think you're doing really well.
Sound good?
And coach, I can answer what Devin said. Because I asked somebody that, and they said it's really hard to keep somebody that motivated because he has to work so hard that sometimes it's like
there's also some comments that Martone was really focused on his playmaking this year.
It's not a concern of it.
And Frank, did you hear the same things?
Yep.
Like he was really focused on his playmaking, and maybe that's why he didn't focus in on some other elements of his game.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that, but it's definitely worked. Like he's probably one of the best, if not the best, playmaker of this draft. So there's a lot to like about whatever work he's put in. But yeah, I think you're right. The knocks are the skating mainly, and some of for a guy who's 6'3" and over 200 pounds, like he doesn't really hit. He doesn't really like play a that mean or physical type of game, which I get it. Like it's not necessarily his style. But you always want the complete player, and you look at the frame and go like, ooh, if you only decided to use that 25% more,
does that sound familiar? Right? Like in a certain number 20 that we follow very closely in Montreal.
Well, in that regard, I will say Slavkovsky was, still, in the top of the team, like very, very towards the top of the team in hits towards the end of the season. So I think it takes time. He's going to put it together at some point, but and the same runway can apply to Martone. This is a 18-year-old version of Martone. What's he going to look like at 21, 23, 26, etc.? So there's a really great gamble on a fantastic project in Porter Martone here.
Awesome.
It was a hard choice, though.
The next pick, guys, is going to be the Seattle Kraken, and this time I'm going to go with Devin. He is on the clock right now, and he's going to select.
So I think with this pick, I think we're now pretty clearly into favoring by position. That's not to say that I don't think that this pick is the best available player, but I think it's quite clear that Seattle will be looking for a defenseman here. They've never drafted a defenseman in with their first pick in the draft, and I think this year, if the draft plays out the way it has here for us tonight, I think they will pick a defenseman, and so I think it comes down to two guys. It either comes down to Jackson Smith or Radim Murtka for me, and I think that they will go for Jackson Smith. 6'3" and a quarter, 195 pounds. Tri-City Americans, 54 points in 68 games last year. A dynamic offensive player, really, really good skater. He has shutdown abilities defensively. He's just. I think it's between him and Murtka, as I said, for the best defenseman in the draft. I just think that his profile sits a little bit better with Seattle, given that he has a little bit of that offensive flair. And they've got they've got good defensemen in Seattle at the moment, but they've got guys who are more on the defensive side of things. And to add a more two-way defenseman with some offensive flair, I think will be helpful for them. So I think they go for Jackson Smith, and I think that they'll be very happy to have him on their team. The comparables that I've heard are guys like Thomas Harley and Travis Sanheim. So if you can get anybody who can even come close to that, I think you're doing pretty well. Good skater, decent shooter, good hockey sense, and plays a nice physical game. Playing in the Western League, right? He's not he's an American kid, I believe, but I think he's playing. Is he an American kid?
Merca?
I thought he was
No,
Smith.
Jackson Smith. Is he? I
Oh,
know
it's
he's
Jackson
Canadian.
Smith.
Yeah. Anyways, he's
He's
playing in the
Canadian.
WHL, so he's used to the physical game. I think he'll be a welcome addition to the Seattle. I almost said the Seattle Thunderbirds, but I meant to say the Seattle Kraken.
Any of you want to comment? Marco, you're off. You mute.
I think, Coach, the biggest argument that I've seen is Merca versus Smith, of which one's better. They're so close together. They're different kind of defensemen. It really depends which kind of defenseman you know. I've seen Merca play. I haven't seen Smith play as much as Merca, but I think it's probably a good choice. I know Pittsburgh would love to have him, so obviously other teams would love to have him. I don't have much of a problem with the choice. They need a
Well, he's a
defenseman,
Calgary kid.
so I don't have
That's
much of
why.
a problem with it. Good choice. Well, yeah, of course. But what do you think? I mean, you think I'm going to go against a Calgary kid?
I'll say
But yes,
to me, Jackson Smith is probably the second best defenseman after Schaefer. The comp that I see, Devin, I don't know if you'll agree with me, but I really like Schaefer there as a comp for him. I think he's got a very similar way of moving the puck. That's sort of the comp that I've liked for him. But yeah, I think it's a great pick. It's very, very mobile, extremely serviceable two-way defenseman.
Yeah. The thing that concerns me a little bit about Murtka as well, and again, not a huge concern. I'm always concerned when the first words out of your mouth about a player are relate to his size, whether it's because he's big or because he's small. It seems like I'm always worried about that, and I kind of if the reason you pick Murtka over Jackson is because over Smith is because of his size, then frankly, short of Jackson Smith being 5'8", I'm not gonna I'm gonna favor the kid who I think has the other assets as opposed to just being 6'6".
It's not like he's small.
No, they're both big kids.
That's
right.
exactly right.
Let's go check at number 9 now. The Buffalo Sabres is going to be Mr. I think it's Mr.
Yeah,
Frank,
it's me, Coach.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Buffalo Sabres had a mini heart attack while listening to Devin before, and they're elated to run to the podium, as they say, to grab right-handed defenseman, mammoth, gigantesque, Radim Murtka.
Yeah.
So
Great
Murtka,
pick.
as you said, is a huge person, a 6'6", over 200 pounds defenseman. Projects as a safe shutdown guy, but someone that's going to be extremely difficult to play against. I think they look at McQueen here, Buffalo. I think they really consider McQueen as another big guy that they could inject in their lineup, because in recent years the Buffalo Sabres drafted a bunch of smaller players. It's not too dissimilar to the Coyotes and Utah Mammoth. That they've had the strategy where they got the smaller players, so they ended up with a bunch of small forwards. You look at Noah Ostlund, you look at Consta Elenius, you look at they picked Mathieu Savoie with they traded, so they have a bunch of smaller players. They need some grit, and also they are completely set on the left side of the defense with Dahlin, Powers, and Byram. But on the right side, it's slim pickings, right? So having someone in the pipeline that can really play a meaningful chunk of ice time in the future for Buffalo is probably exactly what they were hoping to get. My guess is they have Radim Merca very, very high on their draft board on Friday.
Marco, any comments about that one? You mute, Marco.
It's not shocking, right? Like I think I read somewhere where in the last 10, 15 years, there hasn't been a draft where at least one right-handed defenseman wasn't chosen in the top 10. So that's where I was going with my next pick. So it's not surprising that I think it's a great pick for Buffalo. Like I agree exactly with Frank. Like they have a lot of smallish, skilled forwards. So to me, it was either McQueen or Merca. So I'm 100% aligned with what Frank said.
All right. Anaheim Ducks, pick number 10, and Mr. Marco is going to be on the block on that one.
Guys, this one is hard, man. Like Anaheim, it's very similar to Buffalo in the sense where, in the sense where it's really hard to predict, right? Because Anaheim is just so deep everywhere. Like, you see there's Roger McQueen on the board right now, but they drafted Seneca last year, which is kind of like a similar player, like skillsy big guy. So I don't know. Like, I think I'm going to go because they're not really drafting by need, or they're really not concerned with maybe the best player available. Maybe they're drafting for fit and culture. And we know kind of what Pat Verbeek is like. So, guys, I'm going to maybe surprise a couple of us, and I'm going to go a little bit off the board here. I think I'm going to go with Kashawn Aitchison from Barrie for the Anaheim Ducks. Yeah, a little bit early, maybe. But again, like I don't think I can see there's a lot of maybe better players available, but we have a good sense here of kind of we've heard a lot about Aitchison. A lot of nastiness to his game, but blended in with kind of a lot of great offensive skill and really, really clutch gene that we don't see a lot from a defenseman. 26 goals last year, guys, 59 points. He's only 6'1", but he plays a lot bigger and meaner. So I know this is maybe a smidge early for him, but I just see this being a really good fit for Anaheim. They're picking more for culture and for identity more so than maybe the best player available. I'm probably going to get some shit for that one, but that's my thought.
I have an even wilder one for you, Marco. I like the pick because I think they do tend to go a little bit off the board and they don't really give a hoot about what people think. I'll give you another example of someone who would be an absolute reach considering who's on the board, but would be, I think, a fantastic fit for them. Probably if they want him, they trade back, but hear me out, okay? Martin Madden is known to have drafted from the Q. He's known to have drafted players from Quebec, and they have a ton of high upside playmakers in Seneca, Carlson, and Cutter Gauthier, but they don't have that lethal sniper finisher. How about Justin Carbonneau for the Anaheim Ducks? One of the better shots in this draft.
Yeah, I thought about that, man, but again, because of the we'll get to Carbonneau later and talk about him a bit more, but I don't know if I'm not saying he doesn't have character. I think he has a lot of character. But I'm not sure if he fits the template as much as a player like Aitchison. But I get it. Like they could definitely use some finishers. So it wouldn't be insane. Like to me, if they were going for a finisher, I probably see them still going more to McQueen for that. Like I know he doesn't have the same, like Justin Carbonneau has probably I think other than Frondel, the best shot in the draft, right? But no, it's an interesting thought. I think a lot of really angry Habs fans if Anaheim were to skip ahead, but it could have kind of a trickle down effect in terms of where Montreal's drafting if he goes that early too. What do you think? What do you think of Anaheim here, Devin? Real quick before we move on.
Yeah, I like the idea, and I think you're right about the culture that they're trying to build in Anaheim. Aitchison, playing with, they've got Gudis and Trouba there now. That's something they obviously like, and those would be pretty good guys for Aitchison to learn from. I think they could, if they were looking to sort of go by culture, there's a couple of forwards there that they could have considered as well. Guys like Carter Bear and Victor Eklund would be sort of right up the Anaheim alley as far as that sort of rough and tumble type of player. A little bit smaller, of course, but yeah, I think that's where I thought you were going when you said they were going to draft for culture. I thought you were maybe going Carter Bear, but no, I like it. I mean, if you're looking for big physical hockey players, certainly on the defensive side of things, I think that Keyshawn Aitchison is at the top of that list. One other quick thing, Coach. I think in the previous on the board you marked down McQueen instead of Mertka.
Possible.
By mistake. Buffalo, yeah. So just to make sure we don't get confused later.
Okay.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, Anaheim. Imagine that decor because now they have Gudis, Trouba.
Yeah.
They have Noah Warren coming up in the pipeline as well.
Yeah.
There's going to be some mean defense in Anaheim.
Anaheim is
the pick.
Anaheim is going to be a problem, guys.
It's because McQueen was my pick for Anaheim.
Okay. All right. There you go.
For Buffalo. Anyway, pick number 11, Pittsburgh are back-to-back, so we're going to start with Marco on that one for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
That's not going to be Marco.
No, that's going to be...
I thought that was me.
Yeah, that would be Randy.
It's going to be Randy.
That's me, Coach.
Go ahead, Randy.
I'm picking Roger McQueen. Pittsburgh has no doubt. That's who I picked on my blog. He's going to be the perfect center for Pittsburgh. They need a good young center, and probably got the best hands in the draft. And if you want the no honest and no truth, if it wasn't for his back issues, I would call him the second best center in the draft.
All right.
Amazing outcome for the Pens here, guys. If they can land Roger McQueen, crazy.
Frank?
Yeah, I have to say, if you're Pittsburgh, with the way this draft is going. Sorry, Randy, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead, Frank. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the way this draft has been going, if I'm Pittsburgh right now, I am frothing at the mouth. Like this is huge.
Oh yes,
the names that are on the board. So having McQueen and then whatever their next pick ends up being, they have absolute dogs to pick from.
Yep. Yeah, they are, and I told everybody.
What's a good comp for Roger McQueen, guys? Like kind of a unicorn, right? Obviously, he's huge and right hand shot. So I think we all kind of see Buffalo. We kind of see that template there. But what's a good comp for him? Maybe that's a little bit off the board for Roger McQueen.
An interesting one that I've heard is actually really interesting because of who just picked him. But the comp that I heard for Roger McQueen was Evgeny Malkin.
Shit.
Yeah. There's
that's about the right way.
Yeah, Elite Prospects describes him as a power center with highlight reel handling skill, a sniper's release, playmaking ability, and defensive impact. But repeated injuries make him the draft's biggest risk. So, and their comp is Evgeny Malkin.
All right.
I got no.
I'm going to move pick number 12, and now it's going to be Devin on that one. Again, this is the same team, Pittsburgh Penguins.
Well, Randy and I haven't had an opportunity to consult with each other over the back-to-back picks, and up until yesterday, of course, I wasn't sure whether it was going to be the Rangers or Pittsburgh. Not a big deal because I think they both are in need of centermen. However, they've just picked, they just picked a centerman. So the question is, do I go with another one or do I go with something else? So there's a couple of guys here I think who are interesting picks. I think I've got it narrowed down to two guys, and I think I am going to go with Victor Eklund.
Oh yeah,
is the so again a winger, not really a centerman, but again brings a lot of jam to his game. Smaller, there's a few guys in this draft who are not the biggest kids in the world, but they play with a lot of energy. Carter Bear. We already talked about Brady Martin, guys who play bigger than their size. There's guys in the draft who are big but don't play up to their size, and then there's guys who are a little bit smaller and certainly play a bigger game. Adding McQueen, the Penguins are pretty solid at center, so I think adding a winger is probably their best bet at this stage. Highly translatable, skilled winger, one of the best motors in the draft, a physical game. Again, just a kid who wins at every level. I know Coach really likes Victor Eklund. He's one of his favorites. He's one of mine as well. High compete level, and somebody that I think that the Penguins can rely on for a number of years to come, as their team goes through a significant transformation, probably in the next 4 or 5 years.
Wow, what a haul for the Penguins.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they have
What a haul that would be
Gorty
for
in the
Pittsburgh,
pipeline too, right?
Holy cow.
That's a line.
Pittsburgh would
That's
be
a
running
line.
to the bank. Wow.
Frank.
They'd be
Yeah,
running-
Eklund, McQueen, and McGroarty. That's a line. That's an NHL line. I'd pay money to see that in the NHL arena.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I can't imagine. That's quite a haul.
Yeah.
All right.
Pittsburgh is elated.
Oh, yes. Running to the bank and laughing.
we are now pick number 13, and this is going to be the Detroit Red Wings. If I'm right, I go with Mr. Frank on this one.
That is me. So I think Detroit takes a really long look at Carter Bear because Stevie Y has been drafting guys who are high motor, blue collar, big work ethic, the whole 9 yards, right? I think they take a really good look. There is some question marks around the injury, so I think they don't do it because the other guy that's on the board doesn't have any injury, and he's probably a top 10 talent. That's going to be Jake O'Brien, coach. Sorry, I misled you a little bit there.
Oh, yes.
Very
I
misleading.
think at 13, Jake O'Brien is a home run pick. You get a smooth skater, a very deceptive playmaker. This is someone who controls the play. He's really grown into this year. His evolution this year has been fantastic to watch. He's really has probably the best vision of this draft. He's super, super creative. He finds ways to push the play, to advance the play. And he's right now at 6'2", 170-ish. So he's still got room to grow a little bit. He's going to be very, very, very good. Maybe not a first-line centerman. I think he projects more like a 2C in my opinion, but he's got fantastic toolkit. At number 13, this is the right pick for Detroit, I would say. They have some defense players in the pipeline and in the league already, so I think they go for a forward, and I think Jake O'Brien is the best player available. They cannot go wrong here.
Yeah, Detroit's still looking for depth at center too, right? I think that's clear. They have drafted, a couple of centers, and they saw, some are probably emerging into the NHL here, but I still think they go like Jake O'Brien is a steal for sure at 13.
All right. Following by the Columbus Blue Jacket, and Marco, you're going to be on the block on that one.
Ooh. All right, guys. I didn't plan this. That's not who I thought, but let's talk about some delicious irony for a minute. So we all know who the director of scouting is for the Columbus Blue Jackets, right? One Trevor Timmins, right? What was the biggest criticism that was levied against Trevor Timmins when he was with the Montreal Canadiens? That he didn't pick Quebec-born players. Didn't pick him when he was with the Montreal Canadiens. But guess what? That training, all that nagging from the Habs fan base finally pays off. Waddell goes up, listens to his trusted confidant, and they pick Justin Carbonneau. Enraging all the Habs fans.
Not this one.
No, but so listen, like I think Columbus is, again, like similar to Anaheim, just so well stocked with so many, like there's so much versatility in their prospect pool. The only thing you could say, I guess, is like Frank was saying before, like about Justin Carbonneau, is like he's a finisher, right? So I think he's a great fit for Columbus. Like they have so many big, strong, fast forwards. You know, they probably would have liked to pick somebody at D here, but I think just the way that the draft how our draft worked out, like I think Carbonneau falls on their laps, and I think is a really nice fit there, and just a good complement, a finisher to go with some of their really like talent that they have there. Like just go down the list. So I think it's a good pick for them, and a tragic irony, like I said, for Habs fans.
Awesome, Marco. Pick number 15. This is going to be Randy, but before you announce your pick, this is where you can hurt the Montreal Canadiens right there. And it will be really interesting what you're going to get on this one tonight, Randy. And I shake my head. I said, oh. Randy.
This one's going to be hard. This one's going to be hard for me because I know who Vancouver wants, but if what's his name? The Carbonneau, not Carbonneau, the guy with
Carter Bear.
Sorry, Carter Bear. And that's who I'm going with. I know he's got the injuries, but he's probably the best available player there. Terrific player. He's got all the tools in the world. He plays physical, great skater, good shooter. Skating, I should take that back. Skating, he can only do. I heard he was good skating until I read the report on him by the draft guide the coach gave me. But yeah, I think he's the best available player. I can read you my notes that I got on him. He has like I said, I thought he had blazing speed, generates scoring chances, dangerous 3-zone player with excellent passing skills, high hockey IQ. I think he's a constant threat scoring on the ice. Yeah, I think the Canucks are very happy that he's still there at 15.
So what's the name again?
Carter Bear.
You put Bear where O'Brien should have been on the previous pick, Coach.
Sorry again?
On your board. You have Bear already. It should be O'Brien for Detroit and Bear.
Oh, I heard it was Carter Bear. Jesus. Okay.
Frank fooled you.
Well, now you,
Coach. Sorry about that.
You are like
Frank. You would know him. Oh, sorry, Coach.
That's all right. Don't worry about that. Any comment on that one?
Hear Frank's thought. I just wanted to hear Frank's. I wanted to hear Frank's comments
on Bear.
No, I think Coach, this is.
Yeah,
I think this is the right spot for him. I think that's where he's going to end up, somewhere around there.
Yeah, he's
I just wanted to know.
He's a player that gets his nose dirty, scores in the front of the crease, huh?
Yeah.
Like a left-handed shot, like a left shot Gallagher, basically is kind of what you're looking at. Maybe a little bit more offensive upside, right?
I was thinking Bertuzzi. I was thinking Bertuzzi, but I think Gallagher works too. I was thinking along the lines of a Bertuzzi, but I
Yeah,
was
Bertuzzi. Is not bad.
what,
I think the comparable, the official one is Brendan Hagel
well,
that they Brendan Hagel's like a
that
pretty
makes
damn good.
sense too.
Yeah, yeah.
Here we go. Pick number
All right.
16. Now, we are the Montreal Canadiens. We're going to start with Devin on that pick, followed by Frank at 17. So let's start with Mr. Devin. By the way, Devin, before you answer, I ask a question. What the board is right now, are you surprised or what you have right now? Or do you think one pick, you think he will not be there and the Montreal can select that player?
No, I'm not surprised. I think this is probably what I would have expected to be available at this pick. I'm surprised that Bear almost made it to this pick, and I probably would have given some really serious consideration to him if he were still available. But this is kind of the group that I think I would say I would have expected to be available at 16 if there were no trades or no moving around. I mean, I think there's been some picks that people kind of jumped ahead a little bit with them, but
Yeah.
I think at this point, the 15 guys are pretty much the same 15 guys I would have said would have been off the board.
Good point. So now
Maybe
you
not the
pick,
same order. But yeah, so I mean, obviously we know what the Canadiens' needs are. Centerman, right-handed defenseman. Again, keeping in mind that these players are not likely to have an impact on the lineup for any time real soon, so it's not as important as a lot of people might think it is or make it out to be. I have not conferred at all with Frank, who is making the next pick also for the Canadiens, so I suspect my pick will impact his pick. I think I'm going to pick a guy that not everybody is going to like as a pick. I like this kid a lot, and I think he's a good. I think he'll make a good Montreal Canadien. I think what people won't like about him is that he fits a profile that we on the Montreal Canadiens already have. But that said, I think he's, to me, the best player available right now, and that's Braden Coots. Seattle
Wow.
Thunderbirds. I know that he's another 6 foot forward. But what I really like about him is that he, has a lot of the similar traits to Carter Bear. Fantastic forechecker, high energy, high compete level, perhaps even as much, if not more offensive upside over a guy like Carter Bear. Huge leadership abilities, right? Captain of his team in Seattle as an underager, as a draft eligible player. Captain of Team Canada. At the under 18, just a kid with a ton of character, ton of intangibles, the kind of player that the Montreal Canadiens have seemed to gravitate towards over the last few years. And so despite him sort of being, very similar in stature and body size to a guy like Ivan Demidov, I think that he brings a different style of play and a style that I think could complement a player like Demidov. And I really like what the kid brings. I've heard it said that he is one of the more NHL ready guys in this draft. Despite being only right under 6 feet tall, he's pretty thick for his size, for his height. To me, and again, I haven't heard this comparable. The comparable that I've heard is Vincent Trocheck. But to me, I think you could even look at him as being sort of almost a poor man's Nick Suzuki, right? Similar in stature, not the tallest kid in the world, but thick and solid, plays with a lot of energy, and has a really, really strong two-way game and a ton of character. So I'm not saying that he's going to be Nick Suzuki. I don't think that would be a fair comparison, but sort of a poor man's Nick Suzuki, perhaps a middle six type Nick Suzuki. And I love the kid. Everything I've heard about the kid has really, really been positive for me. And I know that not everyone's going to like the pick, but that's the guy that I'm going with. And in Montreal Canadiens tradition, I guess you get off some segment of the fan base with your pick. Anyway,
Marco.
I love the pick.
I
Frank,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
do.
I was gonna say I'm not surprised, Randy, because to me it looked like a Calgary Flames pick. That's what I would say. But
Well, that's
I
who Calgary was. No.
yeah. Yeah, I think the comp that I like about Coots is Mike Richards. Like he's a poor man's Mike Richards. I think he has a little like leadership, grit. He like elevates his play when the chips are on the table. Like I'm not I'm not that surprised with the pick, like considering how the drafts went so far. I had someone else in mind that would have been a bit of a shocker as well, but I don't hate the pick, but yeah, I think a lot of people will be a little bit disappointed when there's a couple of guys who have a bit more of a ceiling and less of a floor. But Braden Coots has a fantastic floor. Like this is a third C all day every day and potentially a second line center.
Marco?
The man that comes to my mind is Dougie Gilmore.
Whoa. Okay,
Jakut.
wow.
Like that too. Yeah. I'll take that.
Yeah. So what I'll say is
That's
like
what.
similar to kind of what Devin was saying is, at this stage of the draft, let's take a bit of a history lesson here, right? Like, do you remember the biggest need that Montreal had a couple years ago is they needed a left-handed shot D to play with either Petrie or Weber, right? And like, so they stockpiled, like they drafted like 1,000 left-handed D-men, and guess what? Like within 2-3 years, the entire organizational need can shift, right? So I think we're all really focused on second line center and right hand D, but at this stage in the draft, like Devin was saying, I think that they're really going to go. I think they are going to go more similar to what I was saying about Anaheim. They're like, based on what we've heard from Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon, they're going to go for culture on this one, and they're really going to go for compete and just kind of the type of player that they think fits the mold that they're building. And I think Coots does that. So listen, I wouldn't be mad at that pick at all. But again, I wouldn't be like, to me, it's kind of a crapshoot. It's really hard to predict what they're going to do here. So I don't envy the both Devin and Frank having to be on the record for having to choose there, because I think it's a tough one, right? But I agree. Like, don't basically like expect the unexpected when it's going to come to 16 and 17. So I don't mind the pick.
The one I really liked, I heard somebody mention the other day when you talk about, organizational need and how it can change is in 2018, the Canadiens were of the view that they didn't want to draft Quinn Hughes because they already had a smallish defenseman in Victor Mete.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard that.
All right, pick number 17. We'll go with Mr.
Well,
Frank.
you did good. You did good, Devin.
Thank you, Randy.
Yeah. So I really wish you would have went with this guy so I could be the one that goes with the little rabbit out of the hat. But I'll play it safe here because you went a little crazier than I thought you would. So I'm gonna go with right-handed defenseman Logan Hansler. I think it's a safe bet that if he's available. By the way, I'm shocked that Columbus did not take him. I think they could use a right-hand defenseman right before the Habs with their big defenseman that they traded to Minnesota gone, but I'm blanking on right now.
Juracek?
So yeah, Juracek.
No,
yeah. So I think Columbus looks at him very hard, but Logan Hansler, not the sexiest player in a sense, because there's nothing elite in his game, right? So there's nothing like he doesn't have this elite shot or this elite skating motion or elite mobility, etc. But everything he does extremely well. He's very, very well rounded. He reminds me a lot of Ryan McDonough, which we haven't seen, unfortunately, in the Habs uniform. But this is a guy who plays probably as your number 4 defenseman, your second pair right-hand guy that kills penalties for you, that does everything that you need a strong minute muncher to do for you. So as you look at the stats line right now, as you can see, not much offense there, but there are some tools. Like there are some glimpses of a little bit of dangling here, a little bit of a, hey, that was a great shot there. So there are some tools in this toolkit that he can really improve upon that could be interesting, that could bring some more offense to his game. But ultimately, this is pretty much like a four-way, like a very safe defenseman that anchors your second pairing for years to come. I would say like the breakout is great, the shot is great. It's just not elite. So there's a lot of things to like. And just because I see the question in the chat, I'm gonna answer
Yeah,
it. So
I was going to ask you. Go for it.
if Logan Hansler was the pick at 16, my rabbit would have been a player from the Q who is now, but I don't think they will play together, teammate with Justin Carbonneau. That would be Bill Zonen. I think Bill Zonen is probably going to be gone by the 25th pick on draft day, so it's not that big a reach. Like he's in that 15 to 25 range, but you're looking at a power forward type player, a 6'2", 185 pounds. So he's already big and using his body. The knock on him is that his explosion is not great, but once he gets going, his body moves really well. Like he's really solid, and the way he attacks the net, he's a true power forward. I think he has a lot of upside and a lot of improvement that we've seen this year from him. So just gonna throw that in there. If the pick on 17 Friday is Bill Zonen, you could tag me and say.
I'll definitely tag you. You'll be the first person that I contact for sure. So
I think
my
there's a
only
lot
thought,
to like about him.
that's a good pick.
I actually need to know your Twitter account.
Oh, okay. Well, you guys can connect.
We'll put it in the chat.
Yeah,
Marco?
just another quick thought, Coach. Before we move
Marco,
on
I
from
want
the
to ask you a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, now do me, you pick 16, 17.
Yeah. So, and I'll just preface it by this. So, and I agree with everything. Like, I understand the reasoning again that Devin's using. The only thing that sticks in my head is I remember Jeff Gordon in the first year they were there, and they were talking about Owen Beck, and I believe they were talking about Machar. And I remember Jeff Gordon's words saying, like, when you're projecting a role player in the NHL, like somebody you project will be like a really good bottom six player, you still have to see the offense at the at the junior level, right? Because it's very difficult to produce offense in the NHL, right? So if somebody's already playing a character role at a more junior level, does it project necessarily to the NHL? So when I see somebody like Coots, that's my only thing. And I see a lot of people talking about Lankovic in the chat, right? So to me, I probably would have balanced. I would have been a little bit more aggressive on upside and balanced it out. So I would have went Lankovic and Hensler just to give it a bit of a balance, right? Hensler, the good, safe. And the thing with Hensler too, guys, is that he's a little bit underaged. And, like if you look at his numbers in NCAA for somebody his age, it's actually right there. Like it's historically one of the best. And, I think there's some unlocked potential there, potentially offensively as well. So I think people are kind of sleeping on the offensive upside a little bit with him. So that's my only thing. Like I get that, like I was just saying it before, like Montreal is going to want to, kind of like make sure that it's within the culture and everything. I don't see any red flags with Lankovic there. He's a little bit like Seneca, where he kind of grew, had a growth spurt and everything. So if I had to guess, like Montreal, if they are going to make those two picks, they might kind of swing a little bit more aggressively on upside for one, and then go a little bit safer on the other one. That would be my guess.
Devin, I have a question for you. Do you not consider Jack both of them do not consider alors Nesbitt, Jack Nesbitt?
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I think I told you the other day on the show, Cole. I'm not a Nesbitt fan. I have got guys. I would put Malcolm Spence ahead of Nesbitt for me. I think there's a couple of other guys that I would have ahead of Nesbitt. I just like the player better. I mean, again, Nesbitt's a bigger boy, and I know that's something that the Canadiens are interested in is having size. But again, I think that to me, I would rather have compete over size any day. If you're 6'4" and you don't compete hard, I'd rather have you at 5'11", and be more competitive. I'm not to say that Nesbitt doesn't have that compete, because I think he does, but again, for me, I hesitate whenever I hear size
Yeah.
being referenced as the first thing you talk about when you talk about a prospect is his size. It always sets off alarm bells for me, and I'm
I
not
get Michael. I get Michael McCarron kind of vibes from Nesbitt. Like,
right.
like his point total is a
Lean
little
Green
bit
Tree last year.
Yeah, like listen, he was played with Green Tree. If you look at a lot of his highlights, and again, I haven't scouted all his games, but it's like a very meat and potatoes kind of game, right? So collected a lot of garbage, which is great. Like that's winning hockey for guys that go to the net. But again, if you're looking for somebody who shows that like high vision, IQ as a center and everything, I just don't see it with Nesbitt as much. I like Coots way better,
And I think
way better.
And I think Marco, you're onto a good point there. Is that guys like that, big guys who are sort of meat and potatoes kinds of guys, are guys that they can get at pick 41 and 49, right? They can get they could get a Will Horkoff or somebody like that. They can get Jack Murtaugh. They can get these guys later on.
Yeah.
I just I don't to me, I think that that Coots brings a real there's an upside there that really is attractive, I think, to me anyway. Again, what do I know, right?
Yeah, Nas 26 makes a good point in our chat too. Like, Habs do want to get bigger, but if they pass on talent just because the player's smaller, then you're in KK kind of territory, right? Like, so
Michael MM territory.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're aligned, but like again, it's kind of a wild card. Like Montreal, again, like it really depends kind of what's going to happen. There's going to be a trickle down effect. I think we all secretly. Let's just do a show of hands for us Habs fans. Randy, you can chime in. I know you're not as big of a Habs fan or a Habs guy, but who hopes that Carter Bear is still going to be there? Like for me, that would be the ideal. Like I'm a big Carter Bear guy, so I'm hoping that somehow he falls there. I think we'd all be surprised.
You don't hold your breath.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
Don't hold your breath, because no way Bear is there. I'd fall off the chair
right.
if he was there at 16.
We're going to move on to the next pick, and the next pick is Calgary Flames. And I'm not sure now. It's Marco?
Yeah, that's me.
It's Marco.
All right, so sorry, who did I think I picked for Calgary twice. Who did we pick for Calgary the first time, Coach? Can you just go back to our graph?
No, I'm sorry again?
Can we go?
First time
did we already pick? Okay, first time they're picking, All right, so here, like, yikes. So I think, so last year they did get Perek last year. They did get Brusewitz in the home trade last year, right, Calgary?
Yeah.
Right, Randy?
That's right.
I think the right side of their D is looking a little bit better, so they might not be 100% decimated if Montreal goes ahead and gets a Hensler there. So I think they would run to the podium and they go Lakovic since he's still on the board.
Absolutely.
Big guy. I know Devin doesn't like it when you lead with that, but he's similar to Seneca last year. He's kind of like a smallish, skilled guy, but that's grown into that body, right? And that's a tantalizing kind of prospect. Right? If he's able to put all of that together and start to use his body, like similar conversations we've had about Slafkovsky, right? Like learning how to use your frame and everything else. If he puts that all together, I think a lot of people feel he could be a top 10 talent in this draft, right? So I'm a little bit surprised that he would fall all the way down here, considering kind of how teams, reacted to Seneca last year. So I think Calgary, this would be an amazing, and Kenneth and a couple of people talking like, yes, Calgary needs centers, but at this stage, guys, you're not feeling immediate needs, right? Like if you are picking like that, then I think you get in trouble. So I think Lakovic here is an amazing pickup for Calgary. And I don't know if we all agree, guys, but would we agree that we're after Lankovic, we kind of reach a new tier in the draft, right, in terms of quality? But I'd be curious to see kind of what you guys think here. But I think we'll probably see a little bit of we're kind of lowering the quality in terms of what we're moving into after this. Like still some good players, but it's a different tier. Would you agree, Frank and Devin?
I would say sorry, Marco. I was just gonna say, like, to me, Coots and Lakovic to me are in the same tier. I think we've entered that
Same
tier
player.
with Coots. I had Hensler just a tier above. He was the last one there. So
Yeah.
that's sort of my tier ranking there.
Right.
I think there's still a couple of guys left in that tier, in the Coots, in that lack
Yeah,
of
I'm
Coots tier.
about to pick one for St. Louis.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
if I may, speak about what Marco picked. I had Calgary picking as center, but you know what? Calgary would take a complete stop, and there's no way if Lakovic is there, no way Calgary passes up on him. No way. And the reason why I say that is because he's a pure leader, terrific player, great offense, great hands, works hard. He definitely knows how to bring up a team. You know what I mean? He's that kind of guy. If the team is having trouble, he's that kind of a guy where he bring them up with a shift. Great pick, Marco. It's exactly who I would have gone with if he was there. He won't be there, I don't think, at 18. But if he is, I'd be very happy if I was a Flames fan.
All right, let's move
You
on
can't
for the
turn
pick
that
number
kind of talent down.
19. The St. Louis Blues is on the board, and now it's going to be Randy on that pick.
My problem is St. Louis really is in dire need of a defenseman, but you know what? There's not the forwards up here that are available right now are just that much better than the defense. So I know Blues wanted defenseman, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to go with Cole Resheny. How do you pronounce his name? Resheny? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, Reshny.
Yeah, I love that he would have been my pick because darn Devin took my pick. If for Calgary, he would have been my Blades. But I'll take him as the next pick for the Blues. He's explosive forward, excellent playmaking abilities, had a high IQ. I think he's quite strong with the puck, hard to knock off. And with him, I think he thinks in advance. You know what I mean? He always thinks that ahead of time. He knows where he thinks it 2 or 3 plays ahead. So that's my pick for the Blues.
Yeah, lots of upside. He was really good in
I love
the
the kid.
U18. He really showed up to like these international tournaments. He's a smaller player at 5'10", 5'11", 5'10",
5'10",
Yeah, it's 5'10",
he's
5'11",
but he's very strong on the puck. Yeah.
yeah, he's hard to take off. Absolutely. I can always feel
it's
better
the-
when Frank backs up what I say.
Yeah, it's
St.
the
Louis,
fight in the
St.
dog,
Louis is
basically.
St. Louis is kind of in a weird, like, kind of tweener zone, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
they are.
hard. Yeah, I think they're going to be an interesting team to watch this summer. Like, we'll see kind of how it goes. But again, at this stage, you're not picking for immediate help, right? But yeah, I could see Reshny being a good fit for them for sure.
All right, pick number 20 now. And we'll go to the next one. The Columbus Blue Jacket, all on the block. This time is going to be our friend Devin.
All right. So the Columbus Blue Jackets, in a perfect world, would draft a defenseman with this pick. There are a few on the board at the moment, but much like the Montreal Canadiens,
You can come to me. I'm on the live show. You can come to me.
they desperately could use a right-handed defenseman. And I'm not sure that the best defensemen on the board are right-handed right now, but there is one who I think is in the conversation. So I'm going to pick him, and I'm going to select Blake Fiddler of the Edmonton Oil Kings for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
I can see that.
Yeah, I think he's right in that range.
Yeah, it depends on who's
Well,
who you're following, but I think he's right there. 6'4", 209. He's got an adult body. He has a pretty, he's got really good puck moving skills. I guess the knock on him is a little bit his hockey sense. Surprisingly, is not great because normally when you have sons of
Bloodlines.
former NHLers, hockey sense is usually an asset. But he's got a really good skating, really good passing. Transition game is strong. Probably not going to give you a ton of offense, at least early on in his career. Maybe that comes along a little bit later. But he's going to be a solid shutdown type defenseman for your team. And again, like I said, he's got an NHL body already. And I think that he would be a good addition on the right-hand side of the Columbus Blue Jackets defensive core.
Hard to disagree with that one, man. Like bloodlines count for a lot with NHL management teams. It's just so important, right? Like you understand the universe of being a pro. It just gives them such a huge leg up, and I like the player. Like I think there's a lot there. Like I think he's easily projectable to, like a number 5 guy. At the very, like that, to me, that's kind of his floor. Right. So, and we see, like, you can say what you want about size, man, but like, especially on the back end, like it just doesn't lie. It's just so critical, especially during the playoffs. So I think right-handed Ds at this stage, like I think we've talked about this in other drafts, but like teams are not only just looking at the players, but they're looking at the value by position too, right? Like a right-handed defenseman, like they all have these matrix kind of about kind of the value of the player, and there's a lot of things that they go into consideration, but there's no question that right-hand D with this size is a really, really good value at this stage.
All right, pick number 20, 21st, Ottawa Senator, and Frankie is back on the board.
Yes. The Ottawa Senators are punching air right now because they had their eyes set on Blake Fiddler as well. Unfortunately, he's just now gone at their very demise. I do believe Ottawa doesn't even have a pick next year, so they were really hoping to like solidify their right D there. So that's a bummer, I will say, for them, not for a Habs fan. I think now they have no choice but to go for upside, and they try to swing for the fences with Ben Kindle. I think that's the pick here. Yeah, I think that's the pick. So he's
really good choice.
Yeah, he's a centerman, but there's a likelihood that he ends up a winger on the NHL level. Remains to be seen. There's a bit of boom or bust for him, I would say, like, because if he's not a centerman, I don't know how good a winger he could be, but the thing is, he's such a creative, smart playmaker. He's got a very decent shot as well. Like, his shot is surprisingly good. Great motor, like good for checker. Like, he's really great. He's got his two-way game under control. Like, he's a solid prospect. He's not the biggest guy at 5'10", 175, but it's not the smallest. 175 for 180, like you have already here on the board here, Coach. So for a 5'10" guy, like, he's pretty stocky. So there's even more muscle that you could add to that. He might, I don't know, like, he's 18 or 19. He might add an inch before he's 19. We'll see. But he's a smaller size centerman in the NHL, but there are some smaller size centermen in the NHL that succeed.
It's a very, very, very good pick.
Extremely talented. Like, he looks a little bit like, if you want to close your eyes and fantasize a little bit and forget about reality, he's the dime store version of Mitch Marner, in my opinion. Like, he's very, very, very shifty, very talented playmaker. He's got eyes around the back of his head, but is not as good a skater as Mitch Marner, so that's why he's not a top 5 pick. But he's got a lot of runway and a lot of potential. So I like this for the Senators, who don't have a pick next year, so they have to swing for the fences, and this is a very interesting pick, in my opinion, for them.
Yeah, their prospect pool is really depleted, right? So yeah, and especially not picking next year, Frank. I think you're on the money. Like, they they need to kind of replenish that. So I think I'm aligned. It's a good one. Hard to disagree.
A fantastic one. I've seen him play, Frank. Trust me. I've seen him play a lot. He's a hitman.
He's
so
amazing.
he's a terrific young player. Absolutely. Awesome pick, Frank. Perfect.
Flyers is on the deck. Marco is on the one's going to select for the Flyers tonight.
Yeah, so I got lucky. I get to pick both their picks, so I get some continuity, I guess, in kind of my reasoning. So after getting Caleb Desnoyers, really targeting that center that they've been looking for. To me, I'm looking at kind of two guys here that they might consider. Malcolm Spence is still on the board, guys, and I'm hard pressed to think of somebody who would be more of a Flyer prototype. And we know that Danny Briere wants to rekindle that, right? Like that's part of when he first brought Tortorella. They've been working on that culture, and I think that he fits that really well. And he's somebody that's definitely fallen in this year and maybe projected to go a bit higher before. But then you have Boumediene that's right there too, right? A really, I think, flying under the radar Swedish defenseman in the NCAA who was underage play. It's not an easy thing. We're talking about Logan Hensler earlier being an underager playing in the NCAA. That's hard, man. He had a pretty productive kind of run towards the end of the season. Boumediene is left-hand shot, 6'2", played a pretty big role in the U18s for Sweden, and is known for his shot, right? I think with Cam York kind of maybe falling out of favor in Philly, I think they probably go for the premium here over the winger, but I wouldn't be surprised with either one. So I'm going to say Boumediene. I hope I'm getting that right for the Flyers.
You're pronouncing it right.
Really banking on two premium positions in this year's draft, so they get their center and they get potentially, in my view, what could be a kind of a sleeper top 4D with some good offensive upside.
Which one again? Sorry.
Oh,
Boumediene.
The defenseman.
Sasha
From Boston University.
Yes.
Boumediene.
Sasha.
Boumediene.
Yeah.
Swedish.
Yeah. Plays
Sounds
for
French.
Boston. Yeah.
He's a Swedish French kid.
Yeah, a Swedish French kid. It's no
Here we go.
weirder than the weirdest
NCAA.
Swedish guy is. The weirdest Swedish guy to me is either Raymond, that does not sound like a Swedish guy, or Zibanejad. So hopefully all
How
three of
about
those guys will be.
How about the
Which
Montreal Canadiens? Sam Harris.
He's Swedish.
Well, his mother is Swedish. He's got Swedish nationality. Yeah.
Weird.
No longer Montreal
Also
Canadiens.
for his Zibanejad.
So that's a different Harris.
Oh, is it? It's not the same Harris you got traded though.
Well, Sam Harris.
All right, we move on for the Flyers. Randy, you're on the Nashville. I apologize.
Nashville Predators. Darn you, Frank, because that's who I had Nashville picking. Darn. I think I'm going to pick Colin Porter, left winger.
Oh wow.
Which one?
Colin Porter.
Colin Porter.
Okay.
Potter.
Again, this is the best Porter, yeah. Cullen.
Yeah.
To me, he's the best forward available in this pick right now. I think they could use him more. I was going to pick Reed between him and Reed, and I decided to go with Cullen. He's a speedster. He's got speed to win. I mean, that's his strength, is his speed. From what I read on him, from all the articles I read on him, he's a good power play weapon, has a great shot. And I did not know this, but apparently he's a good, solid two-way player. He's good defensively, too. He's pretty good all-around prospect. So, yeah, Colin Porter.
Yeah, I think if Potter is a couple inches more, he's a top 10, top 20 talent for sure.
Yeah.
He's the biggest knock is his size, because he's, I think, 5'7",
5'10".
I want to say
5'10". He's 5'10".
5'10".
10. Okay.
Yeah.
He's a right. Sorry, 5'10". Yes, No, but he's a fantastic skater. Fantastic skater that really makes up for his
Probably
size.
one of the fastest skaters in the draft, isn't he, Frank?
All
Probably
right.
one of the
He's great.
fastest, wouldn't you say?
That's for the Kings, David. Pick number 24.
So I think the LA Kings, it's hard to say what their needs are here. You could argue they need a forward. You could also argue they need defense. I think I'm going to. Interesting. I am going to select on behalf of the LA Kings a player that I really like because I think he'll fit in LA very well. He's a 6', 203-pound left winger from the Erie Otters, Malcolm Spence. Malcolm Spence is one of my favorite players in this draft. Big kid, not huge, but plays a big game. Disruptive type player, high energy, really high hockey IQ, plays a physical game, 73 points in 65 games last year on a really average Erie Otters team, a team that really wasn't that good last year. Had a bit of an injury last year that he played through. And so a lot of people were complaining about an inconsistency in his play and that he struggled through the first half of last year. But it's since come out that there was he had an injury to his tongue, believe it or not. He lacerated his tongue and wasn't able to eat, and so lost a lot of weight, lost a lot of energy. And in fact, when I did my show the other day with Jerome Berube, he didn't know that. And he was commenting that he and some other scouts were at some of his games early in the season and couldn't understand why he was playing with so little energy and was, getting tired at the end of a 25-second shift. And I've heard, again, I don't know any, this is not firsthand knowledge, obviously, but what I've heard is that he did have this injury that sort of limited his ability to eat. He had an infection in his tongue, and that lasted for a few months. So I really like the kid. I think that, he was obviously rated a lot higher at the beginning of the season. I think that the reason he fell is kind of explainable now that we know these details. He did play on a very, very, defensive-oriented team in Erie. Will be playing in Michigan next year, by the way, with one of his best friends since childhood, Michael Hage. They grew up together on the same street, and so I think he's a kid who you will see have a pretty big year next year, and I think he'll live up to those early draft projections he had at the beginning of this year, and certainly be better than a kid that is being drafted in the 20s of this draft.
He lost 30 pounds, by the way.
Chicago Blackhawks with Frank.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Devin, it feels like a very much Ken Holland, Marc Bergevin type of pick. I love it for the Kings. I'm gonna go in a similar vein. I'm gonna go with a guy that's more of a middle six, forechecker, physical presence guy. So the Chicago Blackhawks got Anton Frundell at number 3, and they continue on the path of getting bigger, meaner, tougher to play against, and they go with Vaclav Nestrasil. So Vaclav Nestrasil is a 6'5", 187 pounds, huge power forward. He's a fantastic puck handler, great passing skills. Physical game is there. Like, he's really physical. Lots of upside, and he's improved. Like, he came over from he came over from Europe and made it to the USHL and then the WHL, I believe, towards the end of the season, and adapted really well to the North American ice. There's lots of runway for him. The main concern is his skating. There is some drawbacks there, but whenever I hear about the knocks, usually it's one of those. It's either he's not a great skater, especially as you get towards like the middle of the first round and onwards. it's usually the skating or some of the IQ, decision making, etc., etc. I will take the skating over the IQ and decision making every single day. This is usually something that can be taught much easier. Usually it's either bad mechanics or it's just because you haven't put on the strength. So if it's the strength, well, you put on conditioning plan. And if it's the mechanics, well, then you put on, a skating plan for the guy. So there's lots of upside for Nestrasil. I think he's one of the meaner bottom six, middle six guys that you could get from this draft at this stage in the first round. And it really becomes sort of like a complementary guy to all the smaller players that you have in your pipeline in Nazar and et cetera, if you're the Chicago Blackhawks. So I think it makes sense for them to go big and go bigger with Nestrasil here.
Awesome. We're going to move on to the next pick. Marco is on the block on this one. He's going with, again, for the Nashville Predators, third select Potter and James Hagan. So what is your direction, Marco, on that pick?
Very busy first round, right, from the Nashville Predators. Very disappointing season last year. So listen, there's a lot of different ways they can go here. I think a good fit for them would be Jack Murdoch from the U.S. National Development Program, 6'1", left-handed shot. Probably slid into the background a little bit after the U18s was kind of got overshadowed in that showcase, but I still think has a lot of really good tools. I think is more kind of like a below the hash marks kind of player, but really, really good tools. So I think this would be good. I think he projects more as a winger. He's listed like, how they put like almost everybody as a center, when they're being prospected, but I see him more as a left winger. But yeah, I think we'll see kind of how he progresses in the development program. But I think to me, he's still got a lot of upside, and I think a really nice risk here for Nashville at this ranking.
Good pick about that one.
Like him.
Frank?
I like the
Yeah,
pick.
a lot of rankings and scouts have Murtaugh very high, sort of mid first round, late first round. So yeah, I think you're banging over there.
Makes sense. Pick number 27, I believe, is going to be the Washington Capitals, and Randy is on the block.
I was going to do something really mean to the coach and go down and look down and somebody near the 100th and make him go look for him just because of what he said to me earlier. But I won't do that to you,
That would
coach.
be on
I'm going to
brand.
pick the defense.
That would be on brand, Randy. That'd be your brand.
I'm going with Cameron Reed.
With who?
Defenseman Cameron Reed here. Cameron Reed, coach.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
surprised he
Defenseman.
lasted that long.
Yeah, I was expecting him to have gone before
5'7"
now.
though, guys.
Slick skater. I like him.
5'7".
I know he's great. Well, that's
Not
what people
5'7".
don't like is his size. But I think he's a good developing defenseman. Potential has some offensive upside. Is mostly known for defensive though. Yeah, and his defense is developing. So I think Washington can take the time with
He's
him
6
and
foot.
pick him.
He's 6 foot.
Is he? Oh,
Yeah,
where
he's
did I get
5'11",
5'7"?
5'11",
Cameron
three
Reed.
quarters. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're thinking of Cameron Schultz. Or
Maybe
Schmidt.
that's it. Thank you. Cameron
You're
Schmidt
thinking
is
of Cameron
probably what I'm
Schmidt.
thinking of. Yeah. Thank you.
Cameron Schmidt is
okay.
That's that.
5'8".
Cameron Reed.
Cameron Reed is a 6-foot defenseman
Cameron
from
Reed.
Kitchener.
I
Okay,
think he's
sorry.
a solid defenseman. Solid defenseman. To me, he's probably what Washington can really use. Washington is in great shape because they don't need to rush their prospects, so they can take their time with him. And I think he can develop into a good 4th/5th defenseman. But that would be my pick now.
I like
Good.
that pick a
Cameron
lot.
Reed is similar at Lane Hudson and NHL, the way he play. Not going to say it would be Lane Hudson. One of my points is he does a lot of edge work, great skating, join the play, join the rush. Defensive side would be the problem. But problem with Washington Capitals, Randy, they already have Cole Hudson. So I don't know if they're going to
I'm gonna,
add Cameron Reed over there.
I'll be honest with you. If I was if he was right-handed, I would have picked him over Logan Hensler.
I like the kid. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder about the goaltender for Washington too, eh?
Yeah.
I came
I even
tempted.
thought about
I was
that
tempted.
I even thought about that for Nashville, right? Because they did trade Askarov, and they do have that background of drafting a goalie in the first round. But I think he might still go in the first round here, guys, for sure. Like realistically,
What I have him my mock draft. It's interesting you brought him up. I would if I would have had Marco's spot for Philly, I would have went with the goalie.
All right,
Hmm.
we're going to
I
move
would
on.
pick the
The
goalie.
Winnipeg Jets with Devin.
Yeah, so the Jets, despite having a really solid lineup, the Jets are, I think at this point in the draft, I think they can pretty much choose the player they think is best on the board. I don't think there's a glaring need. I think they could draft a centerman. I think they could draft a defenseman, but they are pretty solid. There's a couple of really interesting options here. I think they could either, they could choose to swing for the fence, or they could go a little bit safer. But because we're, we're having a good time, why don't we just swing for the fences here? I'm going to say, well, I'm going to go with Cameron Schmidt. Just
That's
Marco
good.
was just
Good,
talking about him, right? So Cameron Schmidt,
good pick.
as Marco points out, is a smaller forward. He's 5'8" I believe, maybe even smaller than that. However, if you have a look at most of the draft rankings rate him as having the best shot and being the best skater in this draft. So even at 5'7" and a quarter, I guess as they have him at 5'7" and a quarter, 161 pounds. Almost every single draft analyst I've seen or heard says that he is the best skater in the draft and is in the top 3 best shooter. So again, like I said earlier, if the only knock on this kid is his size and he has those other tools, then I certainly think he's an option worth having a look at. Are you going to take him in the top 10? Probably not at that size, but when you're drafting late in the draft and you've got a pretty solid roster to begin with, I think you can take a chance on a kid like this. 78 points with the Vancouver Giants last year. I'm just looking at the draft guide from Elite Prospects right now. The fastest skater in the draft, a high-end shooter, electrifying rusher, and surprisingly physical. He has the special tools to make the NHL, but can he adapt? So I think it's worth the shot for the Winnipeg Jets at this point. They can afford to wait. They can afford to take a chance. They can afford to shoot for the fence. And that's what we're going to do. Cameron Schmidt.
Carolina Hurricane, Frank.
Great pick.
Yeah, they have a strange habit of going way overboard sometimes and drafting these high risk, high rewards, boom or bust types of guy. So if you're looking right now, like these types of player that are still on the board, you have Zarovsky, you have Ryabkin. I don't know that these are first round talents. I think they're probably going to slide to the second round. You have Prokhorov, who's also like a bit of a riser in the Twitter sphere because he's 6'5". So I'm going to take a page from you, Devin. I'm not going to worry about too much about the size and not care about that and move on to what I think is the best player available here for upside and for potential impact. So I'm going to go a little bit off the board here. And I'm going to go with, by the way, Bill Zonin would be a great fit here, by the way. But I'm going to go with right-handed defenseman that was injured most of the year. But other than that, probably could have been in the conversation for the first round pick. And I would love for the Montreal Canadiens to consider. By the way, I'll preface this, but I think there's going to be a lot of interesting right-handed big defensemen in the second round around pick 41. And there's going to be very interesting big forwards like the Nesbits. Van Saggy hasn't been picked yet. Big forwards as well for the Habs, William Horkoff, Prokhorov, all these guys. So if you're looking for size for the Habs, the second round is probably where you get it. But I'm going to go with a little bit off the cuff here with Carter Amico from I believe, the USNTDP. So Carter Amico is a right-handed. I don't know if you have it on your board, Coach. That'd be awesome. But I'm going to go with Carter Amico, who's a right-handed defenseman, 6'5", 225 pounds. I'll say it again, 6'5", 225 pounds. Do yourself a favor. Go type him in YouTube. Go look at his games against Boston College, where he takes a pleasure to destroy Boston U, destroy Gabe Perreault every shift, every occasion he has. He's a mean physical defenseman that really reminds me of a prime Dustin Byfuglien. That's what he looks like in the US NTDP. Toolsy, shutdown guy, huge physical presence. He could improve like under pressure, but the biggest knack on him is that he has had a knee injury this season that kept him away from the ice for most of the season. But I think he's going to be a very interesting prospect around the second round. But if you're Carolina, you don't have much in terms of draft picks. I think it could be a very interesting swing for the fences here. Carter Amico.
I got it. San Jose, Master Marco.
Yeah. So I think for San Jose here, I think I'm not going to be surprised if we see this player jump up a little bit because of how he performed at the combine. I think he was near the top of many of the kind of testing at the combine. So I'm going to go with William Horkoff from University of Michigan. Is going to be moving to that program. 6'4", but really, really showed well at the U18s. And again, we have a player with some bloodlines here, right? So I really like this for San Jose. I think a little bit of untapped potential offensively with him, but like a really, really good kind of motor, and has the frame to kind of like carry it off. And again, like with some definite pro habits. I think it would have been cool to see Calgary draft him as well too, just for chaos, right? Because his dad was a longtime Edmonton Oiler. But I see this being a really good fit for San Jose. I wouldn't be surprised to see Horkoff. Like he's one of those guys that I think is also kind of climbing in the scout community because of and probably with management teams because of how well he did at the combine. And I think teams do pay attention to that.
San Marco going to go pick number 31st, and it's going to be the Flyers with Mr. Randy.
Now, Philadelphia is going to go with the goaltender, Joshua. I can't pronounce his name.
Ravensburg.
You're not allowed to pick him unless you can pronounce his name.
I'm so sorry, I am. So it's too late. I love the kid. Like I said, I had him 22nd in my mock draft. That's fully in the why it's between him and the other kid. I can't even pronounce the other kid's name either. But
what a draft for the Flyers, though, right? What a draft for the Flyers! So they get a center, they get like a D, and their goalie.
And it's kind of funny that they got out of my mock draft 2 out of the 3 Flyers that I picked. We picked. And so the only one that did get picked that I thought they would get picked is Fondell.
Well, now
Okay,
Randy, you're
to
making
me,
me
the Flyers
rethink
fans
whether I
will be
made the
very
right
happy
pick
with
or
this
not.
draft.
Now, Randy, you're making me rethink if I
It's too
made the right
late.
picks.
Too late. You made the pick. So too late.
Sound good with the
But
Flyers
yeah,
finally.
great goalie. Great goalie.
Sound good. Last pick of the night, Devin. You finished with that one over there, and
The
the
Calgary
Calgary
Flames.
Flame.
Yeah, again, Calgary Flames picking the last pick in the draft. They're a team that really, has needs everywhere. So you can kind of look for the best player. I guess you can take two approaches. You look for the best player, or you can try and hit a home run. I'll be honest with you, I've got some serious thought about trying to go for Ivan Ryabkin here, mainly because I think subject to the concerns about his attitude and character, he's probably a top 10 pick, on skill and talent alone.
Yes.
There's a lot of really good players left on the board. There's Jacob Rombach. There's Alexander Jurovsky, Shane Van Zagi, as Frank pointed out earlier. You've got Milton Gastrin. You've got a bunch of guys still around. And I'm not going to go for Ivan Ryabkin, but I am going to go for another Russian. I am going to go with a left-handed defenseman out of the Moscow Dynamo program in Russia. 6'3", 198-pound mobile defenseman. Aggressive physical player who plays well on both sides of the puck. And that is Kurban Limatov.
All right. Trying to find him on my list. Where the hell? Oh, okay. I had him like around 38. Okay. Nice.
Question
well,
for you,
in
Devin.
all honesty,
Question for you,
It makes
Devin.
sense. Like, Randy, what do you think? Because we were talking about Calgary was kind of short up the right side of their D, so going left D
it was
makes some sense.
short up. Yeah, I went off the board for that pick too. I think I went with one of the players that Kevin made. Gaspin is who I went for the 32nd. But I like his pick. Solid defenseman. I know about. Good, hard to take the puck off, and I don't have a problem with it. Fills our needs.
Yeah, to
Our
me,
defense is weak.
To me, it came down. It
Weak.
came down at that pick to if you're going to pick a defenseman, I came down to him or Jacob Rombach from the USHL. A big, huge, hulking defenseman. But I think Limatov has more upside and is
I
a
think he's
better.
faster.
He's got more offensive. He's got more offense to his game, I think, than Rombach does.
I don't think
He's
that's
a
the right
faster
player.
skater too.
I don't think you have the right name there for Calgary, Coach.
Again,
I don't think you have the right name for Calgary for Devin's pick.
what's the name?
Limatov.
Limatov.
Question for you, Devin, while Coach looks for it.
I get.
Do you think the Kurban Limatov? Devin, do you think they go for Henry?
Okay, I get Fanov, right?
No.
No.
Limatov.
He's rated number 33.
I
He's rated
checked
number
with
33.
the list of the Bob McKenzie. He's not in the top 80.
Yeah, he is.
He's rated number 33 in the.
Oh, he's there.
In the.
Here, Coach, I'll copy his name in the chat. You have his name in the chat now.
Yeah, he's rated number 33 in our guide.
Limatov.
And it's interesting you brought him up there because I was looking at him tonight. I was looking at him tonight.
Thanks so much for this, Robert.
Question for you, Devin. Do they
Yes, sir.
go Bruce Tewitz, Henry Bruce Tewitz for the fields?
Yeah, I think Brustevich is an interesting one too. I mean, his brother's with Calgary, and it'd be kind of neat to add them together on confuse the announcers having to say Brustevich twice. But
I can barely say it once, to be honest. So yeah,
I can't say it once. I can't say it once.
I think there's a lot of. I mean, like I said, at the end of this, I mean, you got Gastrin, you got Boumediene's gone. Bill Zonin didn't go yet. Nesbitt didn't go, I don't think. Did he? No, Nesbitt didn't go.
Nope.
So there's a lot of names on the board at this, and like I said, I think somebody's going to take a chance on Ryabkin. I don't know. The only hesitation I have with Ryabkin is, in addition to all of the concerns that people have had about him all along about his, his attitude and the way he's dropped this year. Apparently, he also did miserably at the combine during his interviews. Like, you would have thought that somebody would have coached him to go into those interviews and be, really try and turn opinion about him around. But apparently, that wasn't the case. So, maybe
the one upside with him though is at least he's in North America now too, right? So he's like, so that the Russian factor that we're used to seeing, and the whole kind of adaptation to Western civilization might kind of soften the team, and I could see him going in like early in the second round though.
Yeah,
like I don't see him dropping.
In a draft like this, every player is going to have warts, right? There's going to be, Lakovic has a compete level issue. One guy's got a size issue. One guy's got a skating issue. Well, with a guy like Ryabkin, his issue is something that, is hopefully, if you think you can fix it, if that's the only concern. I mean, otherwise, skill-wise, he's a top 5, arguably a top 5 talent, right? He's, pure skill and talent, alone. I mean, at the beginning of this season, like a year ago today, that kid was ranked in the top 5. And the only reason he slid is because he apparently, is not that fun to deal with. So I don't know. It's interesting.
He loses his cool once in a while. This is his main problem.
Which you can do on the ice, you just can't do it off the ice.
Yeah.
So, guys, I think a good tradition that we have here when we finish our mock drafts, and Coach, I'm not sure if you can make this happen, but it's usually nice to get a screenshot of our selections with all of our. Okay, but yeah, get one with like all of our faces, hoping that we don't look ridiculous in a couple weeks from now, kind of thing. But I think last year I think our mock draft wasn't too bad. Like last year, there was a lot of attention just because. And I one thing I'll say, Coach, last year, a lot of comments we got, and hopefully, guys, if you're watching this on a replay, comment, let us know how we did here. Very curious to kind of hear how you did. Last year, we got eaten alive because people were saying that we're homers because we had Demidov go at number 5, right, which ended up happening. But I don't think anybody watching this, knowing that this is a Habs-centric podcast, I don't think you can say that we manufactured an outcome, that is more favorable to Montreal. I think overall we're pretty realistic and really took into consideration the needs of all the teams. And we didn't try to manifest destiny that, Montreal was going to get McQueen or Martone, like at number 16 or something. So good job, guys. Like really good job kind of representing all, being GMs. Like maybe one of us will get to be an NHL GM. Like maybe this is like an audition video. Devin, maybe next time for your audition video, don't wear like a muscle shirt if you're going to be auditioning to be the GM. And I'll maybe next time I won't drink like 4 beers before. But overall, lots of fun. I gotta jump, guys. I think we're a bit over. But Coach, did you want to? Yeah, I gotta let the dog out here for sure. But
you want
Coach
what?
Even yeah, so he didn't hear anything I just said. So
that's okay. You talk about Devin's shirt. You talk about last year, 2004. I was the time you talking. Right. I was looking on the picture. I was trying to get the one from last year. So that's what.
Okay.
And Coach, how do you think Demidov last year? Yes, you're right about that.
Yeah. So, Coach, how do you like? So you didn't make any picks today. You were producing. Great job producing and flicking around and having all the visuals for us and everything. But overall, like, how do you think we did? Like, a couple of surprises here and there. And I could see you rolled your eyes at me a couple of times. But overall, how do you think we did?
I did not, especially for you. I would say to you where I'm surprised from you guys. I would say to you, you pick 3 defensemen on the top 10, where I don't see that, honestly. I see O'Brien a little bit early in the NHL draft on that one. So that would be my number 2 there. Kendall a little bit early, but I can understand the pick over there. I don't see the pick of the Montreal Canadiens. Both of them, I don't see the Montreal Canadiens select those players. And the rest is pretty good for what you pick on that one. I don't see Schmidt will be there. Amico is not going to be there, in my opinion. Limadov is not going to be there. Murdoch is not going to be there. Nestrasil, I think it would be there, but a little bit late, a little bit 29, 30, 31. But nothing wrong. I think for me, Castrin, it was one of the pick I would put on the top between 24 to 23 to 26, 28, I believe. Overall, it's pretty good.
Sounds pretty
Not going
critical,
to be
coach.
right
Like
also, but I think
you're very good. You're very good at giving feedback, though. You're like, oh yeah, it's pretty good, but the only thing I would change, and then you named like 10 picks.
I changed about I think for me, I don't know if you agree with me, Frank, but I think 3 defensemen, I'll be shocked to see that on the top 10.
If you guys want some good insight, I like I said, I did a show last Friday with Jerome Berube from hockeyprospect.com, which is posted on my channel. And he's got some pretty good insight. He's a guy who watches hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games. And he basically wrote the hockeyprospect.com draft book. And he had some really interesting things to say about and you can find him otherwhere. I mean, he's been interviewed on a number of different podcasts and different places. He's got some pretty cool insights as well, if you want to check it out. Good plug.
Cool. Frank, you were about to say something. Go ahead, man.
No, I was just responding to the defenseman thing. I think there's a chance, defensemen are a premium and teams tend to go for them earlier than later. So we'll see. It remains to be seen, but I'll say, like, if it shakes out anywhere in those waters, there's still some really good players left between 41 and 49 for Montreal there. Some guys with size, some guys with grit, some right-handed defensemen. So if the needs haven't been addressed in the first round, if the players you want haven't been selected, there's probably a lot to be happy about that's going to be available in the second round.
Perfect. We're going, before you leave, I'll just ask you one more question. Pick number 41, 49, Frank, you think Montreal select who?
So if I'm
Don't worry about
GM
the book
for
we
a
did
day,
tonight. No.
yeah. If I'm GM for a day, I'm running to nab Zonon, Bill Zonon at 41, and then I'm running out my right-hand defenseman with Max Psenika, who's a big 6'5", 6'4", right-handed defenseman. Shut down. He won't probably be much more than a third pairing, but what a third pairing defenseman he could be. A really solid, mean guy there. So that would be my pick. Bill Zonon and Max Psenika.
I agree. I like those.
Marco, any name you thinking or not?
I'm not gonna lie, guys. Like I didn't get a chance to double click as much on the second
all right.
round, like like Devin and Frank. But I do know I do like meanness. I like me some meanness, so I'll take Frank's word on that. One question I'll ask you guys though: Montreal has drafted so many freaking players in the last couple of years. As we know, there's a limit of 50 contracts. I know for me, I'm a little bit concerned here that they're going to start they're going to start wasting some of this value, right? Because teams are going to see Montreal coming from far away. Like they're going to have to start moving out, making decisions on some of these players. So Montreal, I forget how many picks is what, like 11 picks, 12 picks 12. They have
12 picks.
So Coach, you might have had this on one of your like duels there or whatever that you have on your live stream, but how many picks in this year's draft do you think Montreal would trade? I don't see all these picks.
I predict 3.
Wow.
Coach, can I ask Frank a question?
Yep.
Frank, I've got Toronto picking a defenseman named Kittles. I don't know if you're aware of him. Do you know him very well at all?
Hayden Kittles.
Yes.
Not too familiar.
Yeah, Peyton.
Okay,
I got some info. I got some info on him. Tall, lanky, right-handed defenseman.
Yep.
really, really good using his body on defense. Not so much physical, but to puck retrieval. Not a very good passing transition game.
No.
A little inconsistent on his compete level. Those are, but a big kid with a lot of runway in front of him. Raw, like really raw kid.
Raw kid. The reason why I like him is because he was a stay-home D-man. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Toronto needed him. Toronto needed him. So I was just wondering if any of you guys knew you're aware of him and stuff. Sorry, Coach.
Yeah, played Swift Current Broncos last year.
All right, guys. I'm sorry, man, but I got to jump. But
Yep.
I don't like it. It may put your screen out of equilibrium because I've been at the center all night. But lots of fun, guys. Sorry, I got to jump. But let's revisit in a couple months or even later and see kind of how we did. Thanks a lot, guys. Lots of fun.
All right, Marco. See you.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Devin. Thank you, Randy. I will see you next time after the draft next week, what we look like. Have a good night,
everybody.
Thanks so much. Appreciate that, everyone. So it was, guys, the NHL annual of the mock draft we do here for the last 5 years. And we're not going to be right 30 and 30, 32 and 32. But then it's just to give you an idea how the team thinking, how they look like, and how they process on the NHL draft. And I'm going to release Friday morning, I'm going to release my NHL draft 2.0, my final draft for the pick for the night. Very interesting. I have a lot of name you can put at the end. Not many surprise overall, but like I said, I believe there's going to be a draft of the center, the first top 10. Then it's going to be a draft of the defenseman after that. And the fact like Pittsburgh select now back-to-back 11, 12, that's showing a bit more the view of the defenseman, honestly. But I see maybe 2 defensemen, but I'll be shocked if Smith and Edchinson on the top 10 of that NHL draft. But you never know what could happen about this. We'll see. I think everybody did a great job. We appreciate a lot all of you tonight. Appreciate a lot. Don't forget, please, to click on the like before you leave the building, like we do every time. And tomorrow night, we are back on the preview of the NHL Draft 2025. And then I'm going to do a little bit the Frenchy quiz or something like that, like a funny Friday. So I'm not going to be a lot prepared, but more about you guys. You ask questions, and we're going to sharing about the NHL Draft 2025. So don't miss the show tomorrow night at... Oh, sorry about that. Not supposed to be there, but it looked like I've been this direction about this. Is funny. What happening? I make a key, and I touch or comment, and it bring me there. So it sometime when you become live, everything could happen. Make me laugh because it never happened before that one, but it is what it is. It's funny. Thank Randy Walkman. Thanks, Frank. Thank Devin. And thank Mr. Marco Larabie. Great show tonight. We appreciate all of you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the show tonight. And don't forget, please, to click subscribe, click on the like, and become a member of the Hockey Nation Show. It was a pleasure to entertain you for the last 2 hours and 30 minutes. I can't wait to see all of you tomorrow night at 8:30. And the only reason who we are, because you are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. That's all, my friends. That's conclude the show tonight of the NHL mock draft not 2.0, but the 2025. I can't wait to see you tomorrow night. Don't forget, Friday night, we are live at 7 p.m. And then Saturday, we are live also at 9 a.m., I believe it is. I can't wait to see all of you. Don't forget, of course, to click on the like. So until the next time, my friend, be well, be healthy. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the first half of what? Someone was said 2025. I can't wait to see all of you guys. I appreciate a lot. The Cash fan is in the house. Thanks so much, my friend Guy, Frankie also. We appreciate all of you guys to run to be with us tonight. The moderator Ron with King was with us. As you can have the news update It was with our Canadian show tonight, and all the people participate and become a subscriber, and it become also a great people inside of the chat tonight. Don't forget that we are going to hit the second half of the year, and I'm doing some search about the mindset. I read a lot of books, and I think sometimes people or get discouraged, they give up, or they don't get what they're looking for. And I said, listen, guys, you can have a bad day, you can have a bad week, you can have a bad month, or you can have a bad year. But this is not the over. It's not the end of your life. You can rebound, you can bounce back. And to do that is to clear what you have in your mind. It's to process it one day at a time. Don't much worry about everything else, guys. Because when you start to thinking and it's getting to be worries, it just will affect your mindset, your happiness. I believe everybody have greatness inside of you. Everybody can become the best version of yourself if you evaluate everything around you and to figure out like life is so much better when you clear your mind and with that what you have right now. People have some problem with the health, some problem with financially, some problem with relationship. But I can promise you one thing, guys. If you focus on yourself, you work on yourself, I can promise you that you're going to be your best version of yourself every single day. Until next time, my friend, our Canadian show and the Ab Nation and all the cheese and talent, one more thing. We love you, friends. At the end of the show, we always call that one again that way. I'm ready on this one. And we go. Good night, everybody. Enjoy your rest of your night. And booyah, everybody. Good night to everyone. And thanks, Frankie.